Hi, and welcome to another episode of DNA of Games, the podcast where I talk to disabled and neurodiverse people working in the games industry. Joining me this week is Arin Goldsmith of Blizzard Entertainment. Help support this podcast by liking and subscribing wherever you may be listening, as it really helps us get out there and reach new people.
Hello and welcome to another episode of DNA of Games, the podcast where I talk to other people in the industry that just happen to be disabled or neurodiverse like myself, and just to learn a little bit more about them and discover how they got into the industry themselves, and obviously asking that important question of their favourite games, because obviously we all love games, otherwise we wouldn't be a part of the industry. At least I hope so. Could be a very different podcast at the end. You say, "Oh no, I hate games."
yeah. Sorry. Hate to break this to you.
If you haven't, joining me today is Arin Goldsmith of Blizzard Entertainment, and I think you're a talent marketing specialist.
Yes, talent marketing specialist. I'm on the employer brand team at Blizzard.
So, Arin, if you want to give yourself a little bit of an introduction about what you do and who you are.
Alrighty, hi, I'm Arin Goldsmith. I'm on the talent marketing team at Blizzard Entertainment. I am so pumped to be here. I just started at Blizzard around 4 months ago, and this is my first job in the gaming industry, which I love because video games are something that I'm really passionate about and have been in my life for the past 12 years or so. And I am so excited to be here. Yeah.
Nice and simple. But in the back of my head, I'm sort of laughing because you said, "Oh, I've been in the industry for 4 months." I'm just like, wow, I feel like you're already sort of making your stamp on the industry, because I came across you because of LinkedIn, and you've been so open and honest about yourself, and about I love seeing the posts that you do, because it's just so everyday person. I'm just like, oh, this is a normal person that's literally just doing their thing and working at Blizzard, and just going, hey, I'm doing this really cool thing today, and this is my job, my life, and it seems so exciting to me.
Yeah, no, I'm so lucky. For me, working at Blizzard has really been a dream come true, because I honestly did not expect for my, lack of a better words, personal brand to blow up. But honestly, I've just been so excited about my job that I can't help but not post about it, because I get to do so many fun and amazing things. And I've been given so many opportunities, and I have so many people that believe in me at Blizzard that dream come true. It's so cheesy, but dream come true is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. And for our listeners sort of listening in, they'd be wondering kind of what your role entails. If you could give a kind of a brief description of what you do day to day.
All right. So my official title is talent marketing specialist, and I'm on the employer brand team. And I work with pretty much every department across anywhere in Blizzard. Basically, talent marketing specialist is a fancy way of saying that I show people through social media what it's like to work at Blizzard. So I'm a social media manager with but my goal is to show how it is to work at Blizzard, really, is the best way to describe it.
It kind of sounds like quite a dream job, really, to
it is
show people what it's like to work at such a major company in the industry. And
yeah, no.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's just been really such a blessing, because I'm able to breathe and really leave my mark on, especially being here so recently, because Blizzard has made some really magical games, and some games that have been super important to me. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. And also, it's been so nice because my insight has been welcomed in providing. I'm very passionate about getting women and people with disabilities into the gaming industry and making it as accessible as humanly possible. So being able to use that in how we think about how we're sharing our brand has been really rewarding for me. And we're already seeing amazing results from it. Because I've seen so many people message me just saying, both through the Blizzard accounts and my own personal account, saying that since seeing these posts, I never thought I could work in the industry, and now I'm inspired to. So that's been really rewarding for me.
Yeah, and you know what? I am thankful that sort of Blizzard had taken their shot with you because, you know, like I think obviously before we started the episode, we are just saying about the sort of lack of visible representation of people with disabilities, you know, in the industry, and actually saying, hey, yeah, I am a disabled person, you know, I'm doing, you know, this awesome job role in this awesome company, and we don't get a lot of people doing that, and you know, just. You can see the impact that you've had on your such short period of time that you've been there, but you can see how important it is as well.
It is. Definitely. And it's just been, again, so interesting just to see how many people have disabilities and how many people are interested, and even just openly sharing that I have one, I've been able to get some really great feedback, even just regarding gameplay, what games work for them, and even just getting some really good game recommendations. And I'm able to connect with a lot of people just because not a lot of people can talk about this.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that a lot of people really talk about.
Exactly that. Exactly. I'm definitely interested in knowing kind of how you got here into your role. You know, I don't know whether you want to take us through that like brief career journey into getting to Blizzard. Like, what were you doing beforehand?
Okay, so I love telling people about this because something I hear a lot is people often don't feel confident applying to jobs in gaming because they don't have industry experience. Well, let me tell you, I've had the wildest career journey of probably all time. So I started my career when I went to university in New York City because I wanted to be a Broadway costume designer. And that is what I thought. I know. Because that is what I thought my passion and my calling was going to be. And then I tried it. Things went okay, but I realized it required a lot of permanent hustle, which I just did not have the energy for in order to be long-term successful. And so I was like, okay, cool, let's try something else. So I started doing some graphic design work while I was still in college, and I did a few internships. And then that turned into marketing jobs.
Yeah.
And it was actually funny. I was sewing something at a theater. And the production manager came up to me and was like, hey, you're good at Instagram. Do you want to run the theater's Instagram for an extra $100 a month? And I said, I'm broke and I like money. Sure. And so that's how my career in social media really started.
Yeah.
And then from there, I worked in healthcare in New York as doing marketing for healthcare for a year, which wasn't particularly a great fit. And then I worked in construction after that for a year. Also not a really great fit. But the thing was, what was nice about it is it paid really well. And because it was such a not good fit, I was able to have an excellent work-life balance. So I had, is the best way I would describe it. So I spent a lot of time taking courses and really building up my experience load through both personal projects and freelancing, and also doing volunteer work in order to build up my social media skill set. Okay. And then, funny enough, I was browsing LinkedIn and I had my little profile on Open to Work, and a Blizzard recruiter messaged me. Her name's Monique Enriquez. She's amazing. If you're not following her, you should follow her. But she messaged me and was like, hey, your profile stuck out to me. Have you considered applying to Blizzard? And I honestly laughed when I saw that message because I thought to myself, and I was on the brink of getting 3 rejection emails when I got that message, and I was like, there is absolutely no way I'm going to get this job. And then I did 7 interviews, and I got the call on the way to my yoga class 2 weeks before my lease in New York was up that I got the job. And so everything worked out, and now I am so happy to be here.
The universe aligning at the right time for you.
It did. It really did. And now I get to have right now I'm at home, but I get to work from home, and then when I want to, I can go into the office and take selfies with the orc that's here. And it's nice because I get discounts on fun things like this Soldier 76 statue, which is and that's my journey into gaming.
But like, yeah, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I've had a similar like career path where, you know, I've been in sort of different industries, and you sort of, but you're still sort of gathering that skill set that you want to apply, you know, eventually. So that's really interesting that you kind of had that same sort of hustle of like, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, but it's all adding up to like getting you prepared for the role that you're in now.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, was the sort of allure of the gaming industry always there? You know, would it always kind of something like, if I could, I would, sort of thing?
Yeah, it was definitely. So when I went to a performing arts high school, and I had a lot of friends who were really good at drawing. And so, funny enough, this isn't what I focus on, but I always thought I couldn't get a job in the gaming industry because I wasn't a strong enough illustrator in order to work in art. And I'm dyslexic, so coding does not work for me either. So I was like, okay, there isn't any jobs for me. And it wasn't until after I was already started working in marketing that I realized, oh, these are jobs that exist in the industry that I can be a part of. And even then, in my application process, I was coming from teeny 100-person companies. I was like, there's absolutely no way they're going to hire me. So it was more of a mental block than anything else, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, like, you know, it's interesting that kind of happens to a lot of people, especially a lot of disabled people, to not go for the opportunity, I guess, is the best way to describe that. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know whether you've got a bit of wisdom or advice to sort of people that might be in that headspace at the moment and looking at jobs in the industry. You know, I guess you're just going to say, just go for it.
Yeah. So what I like to tell people when they get a lot of rejections is try to learn something. And one, go for it. And then if it doesn't work out, try to learn something for it.
Yeah.
And I think I know there's been a lot of criticism against hustle culture, and I agree with that. I think everyone, of course, needs time for breaks and everything.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a huge benefit in putting that energy into yourself. It doesn't have to be for your company, but even if you notice, hey, I want to learn how to do something, do it. No one's stopping you. Maybe pay take like a $20 course in whatever it is that you're interested in. Who cares? Just do it. And then from that, you might learn something, and that might get you another opportunity, and you can learn something from that. So just staying open and just really taking every experience as a learning one is, I think, the biggest key to success.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I assume you've obviously learned that from, you know, your sort of journey into games and that sort of working in different areas like construction and medical. You know, like you said that you wasn't the right fit, you know, but you obviously learned something from your time there. Has it always been that sort of case of like, I've looked back and I realised, no, this job isn't right. This is what I learned, but I'm moving on because it's the best thing for me.
Yeah, I think definitely some of the biggest things I've learned have to do with overarchingly navigating people's personalities. I think is really valuable because the people that I was working with when I was working in healthcare had very different personalities from the people I was working with in theater, which had different personalities than the people that I was working with in construction. So really having that experience in dealing with different kinds of people, with different all kinds of political mindsets and work styles and everything was super helpful for me in terms of one, developing socially and being able to network and effectively get things done with different types of people. I'd say that was definitely the most valuable.
Yeah, and you feel like you are a creative person. You know, you said given that you've been performing arts for a long time, but it's that sort of I guess creative thinker sort of. I think is what I'm sort of getting at, and how that applies to your role now. You know, you feel like you know nothing was wasted. You know, you've learned you know your creativity has been applied to your role now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely being and having the ability to be creative in any role that I have is definitely something that's super important to me. Which is part of the reason why I went towards marketing
Yeah.
when I discovered that I wanted to sell out and not be an artist. And I I went so I like marketing because it's basically just creative problem solving. You have to think, okay, so our customers have a pain point and we need to think of fun ways to solve it. I'm also very hands-on. On social media, on any of the Blizzard channels, I edit my own videos. If you go on the Life at Blizzard, you'll see like party reels that are on there, and I edit those, and I have such a great time. I'll be in all hands meetings, town hall meetings, and I'll just be there praying that my microphone does not go off while I'm editing techno music onto some videos. So it's been really great because I've been able to be very hands-on with my process.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I really love about the gaming industry as a whole, is that one, it's the forefront of tech, and it's everything that technology is going to be, and it's a reflection of where that is going. But it's also the forefront of artistry as well, and we get to see the newest ways that artists are reflecting on themselves, and being able to amplify that and work with so many talented people is really inspiring to me.
Oh, yeah, that's really lovely and a good description of the industry. You know, that's why I sort of advocate it so much across all different sectors, because I'm just like, hey, you know, it's not one single thing. It's such a team effort, all of these diverse job roles coming together to make something that's really incredible.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because something that when I tell people I'm a talent marketing specialist, they use the first response I usually get is, wow, that sounds like a fake job title. But the reason is there's just so many different jobs that are out there that need to get done to make and get these products out there to people. And again, I feel so lucky because it's so nice being in an industry where what I'm doing affects people, and it makes a positive difference in people's lives. And like it's just so it just brings me so much joy. Really.
Yeah, like, you know, I sort of feel that as well. Like, fully agree with that. um, I lost my trail of thought there, but I was going to say, you know, it's just driving into, like, you know, you've been very forthright with your identity as a disabled woman, and that, you know, you obviously shared that you have cerebral palsy. I'm just wanting to sort of dig in a little bit more with that, you know, it's obviously to maybe educate myself and the listeners a little bit more around kind of that, what that means for you specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have cerebral palsy, or CP, which is probably how I'm going to refer to it for the rest of this. But CP is basically, it's a fine motor skills disorder, and it's a lifelong thing. I specifically got it because I decided to be stubborn when I was born, and I did not get enough oxygen, and I decided I just had to come 3 months early. The world needed me. The world needed me. So
you had stuff to do. You need to get on with it.
Yeah, I come on, let's go. I'm trying to. This is no. I have things to do. Now's the time. But because of that, it basically, as I like to say, I'm medically diagnosed as clumsy. But I have, it mostly manifests itself in difficulty doing repeated tasks using fine motor skills, as well as issues in balance and depth perception. Okay. And it affects me a lot less now, mostly because as an adult, I'm better able to train and keep myself active, and I know specifically what I need in order to strengthen and improve those skills, and I work with a personal trainer specifically to work on the things that I have trouble with.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, it really affected me a lot. I played some sports, but I had a lot of difficulty with it. I had trouble with running and skipping until I was around 6 or 7, and I always had issues with writing. My handwriting to this day is atrocious. I just need to type things. But writing has always been super difficult for me.
Yeah. Was it something that I guess it was diagnosed early, you know, I guess it was something that you sort of always known, you know, I guess it's kind of like, you know, were you always sort of told, oh yeah, you have CP, and just that was just a part of who you are, or did it was something later on which you take and go, oh, you know, actually I've got something that no one else really has?
Yeah, so it was actually interesting because I got diagnosed when I was around 6 years old.
Okay.
And I didn't really notice that there was something too different for me from the other kids. I just kind of figured that I was bad at sports, which is the funny way of putting it. But I just kind of assumed that I was particularly unathletic. But I never understood why I specifically had to go to special physical education classes, or I got pulled out early to go to so many doctor's appointments, or why I had to go to physical therapy. To me, I thought it was just fun extra playtime to go, that I got to play in the sand pit extra. So why do I care? But it was, I think I've really found out about it, and when I started asking my parents. They didn't keep it from me, but I started when I was around 8 or so. I started asking questions like, why do I have trouble with this when other kids don't? Why am I going to extra sandpit classes when other kids do not have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they told me, but it's really been, I would say, interesting to deal with, given that I have some appreciation for the fact that it wasn't something that my parents really had dominating my life, but it's kind of turned into something that I often forget about and that I often get frustrated with myself with. So say, for example, if I'm doing a task and it takes me longer to do something than someone else that I'm working with, I tend to beat myself up a lot because of that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have a whole entire disability. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, that thing again.
Oh yeah, that thing, because I just had to be here early, and now it's terrible to to count the swag stock in the closet. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it just reminds me of my friend Harriet, who always says like, oh, we should thank God that she got limited in such a way. Otherwise, the world wouldn't be able to deal with the amazingness that should be. Like, it's sort of like this is you, this is you with CP. Imagine you without CP, you've been dominating the world.
Yeah, no, imagine we would already have colonies on Mars if
Exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, it's I guess it's the sort of interest then of like sort of growing up, and having CP as you call it, and that sort of when getting a bit older, and then you start thinking about career pathways and what you want to do with your life, and that sort of like that moment here, oh, I've got the rest of my life to do things now. It's like, did you ever feel like you were limited to sort of having a massive career, or doing what you want to do, or did it come into like your thought process of actually I've got to think about this carefully, what I can do?
Yeah, it's actually funny enough. That's a big reason why I stopped working in costume design.
Yeah.
Because I was so a big part of it is, since it's such a tiny industry, you don't exactly have a lot of the support that you need. So while I was an extremely proficient designer, I was not a good stitcher. That's something that doesn't lend itself to cerebral palsy very well. But I would have everything designed, and my the final product would always be amazing, but I couldn't properly hustle and work my way up because I couldn't take jobs that required stitching. So even though that didn't make me a bad designer, it just closed a lot of opportunities for me, and it made me I would have basically had to have sucked it up, for lack of better words, for a lot longer.
Yeah.
If I pursued that. So that's a big reason why I was looking for a corporate position, because I can do I love technology. I can do pretty limitless things just sitting at a desk, and I can be creative and have that output sitting here. So that was a big consideration for me, which is actually why I was leaning more towards social media and digital marketing rather than physical and event marketing. Because a lot of that requires usually some kind of handwriting, or physically putting things up, or setting up events, which is not a match for me. But I will.
I've helped with events before, and even just putting up the banners, just like
it's just like no,
nightmare for everybody. But yeah.
Like, I feel like I would hate it even if I didn't have a design. But they but yeah, it was definitely something I was considering, and I found it had to be a lot more hyper specific than I thought it would be, because surprisingly the requirements of being accessible and creative are a lot more limited than I thought they would be.
Yeah, no, I definitely can appreciate that.
Oh, and the third variable, I can pay rent. That's the triangle.
In this economy, yes. I'll take that comfort. I guess I'd be interested to know whether you still kind of use your like sort of design and costuming skills. I think like the closest association would be doing things like cosplaying and stuff like that in the games industry. Do you still sort of sometimes go, you know what, I'm going to make something?
Yeah, it's actually so funny. I so I still have a very dear place in my heart for costuming and costume design. And it's actually super helpful in my day-to-day, because usually if there's an event, we'll be filming video interviews or something to that effect. And more often than not, people don't know how to do makeup. So they often just call me and they're like, hey, you have a degree in this. Can you help? And I'm like, yes. And another thing that has been really, really helpful for me in my general career is I can make any budget work for anything. Because the next time because I will never have to make 48 historically accurate costumes for $3,000 ever again. And, anything above that is good for me. I can just work with it. So I still use my skills there frequently. I've been meaning to get back into cosplay. I actually did a lot of cosplay when I was in high school, because again, I loved making things so much. But what I specialize in specifically is fabric painting and dyeing. That's specifically what I like, because I found while sewing is rather repetitive and difficult on my hands, dyeing, you just dunk it in and specifically with you just put it in there, and then it's fun because when you stir it, it feels like you're making a potion. But yeah, it's very fun. But I also really fell in love with painting, because again, I've never was a strong illustrator, but I found painting to be a lot more fluid, and I could use bigger brushes and I could fit larger, so it's less of a pain point here.
No, I appreciate that. I do. I do like painting as well. Like, I like being more freer than, like, sort of very people that can just do that fine detail. I'm just like in awe of that. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do that. I'm just too. Like, if the paint's not covering most of you and the canvas, then you've not done it right.
100%.
That's tough. We've obviously, perfectly creative, and you're saying as you're raising, as you're growing up, and that. How does like games come into that? Then have you always been like a gamer yourself, or is kind of something that came later?
Yeah. So it was interesting because I've been involved in. I would say I've considered myself a gamer for about 12 years now. I was always like a casual player up until I was in middle school. Like, I had my little Nintendo DS, and I would just play on it whenever we had long drives and vacations. And one of my close friends introduced me to The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword on Wii. She was like, you have to play this game. And I was like, what? Why? And she was like, just trust me, you have to play this game. And I did, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a game that had a story. I remember I thought it felt like I was playing a movie, which wasn't something that I was really aware of since then I've pretty much fallen in love with it because it's just such a nice, it's like theater. In that it's so immersive and you're right there and you're experiencing something that's different than it just being on a screen. You're a part of it. So it's something that I really like a lot.
Have you always been someone that's able to sort of play the games that you want? I don't know whether having CP is sort of limited to games that you can play or not.
So it's actually interesting because I usually prefer to play single person games because I don't know if this is a CP thing or if it's just I have bad Wi-Fi, but I'm really bad at first person shooter games. So it does not work for me. I have horrible aim. And it also doesn't help that I'm just shy and don't like actively killing things. So it doesn't particularly work for me. But one thing that really made a difference for me was actually just playing Overwatch. That was the first time I got into first-person shooter games, because with a lot of the healers, there's a lot of them that are just press a button and you're doing your job. Or with Lucio specifically, you're constantly doing your job healing. You just have to be around and don't die. And just having that work for me and still being able to contribute and be a part of the game and not ruin my friend's day because I died 10 seconds into coming into the map was really great for me.
Just the image of you being a healer, like, oh, okay, you guys all do your shooting thing. I'm going to sit here and read a book and just actively heal.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. It's like I don't, and it's like it's just nice to be a part of it.
Is everyone alright? You all having fun? Yep.
No, I'm just like hitting space bar, bouncing around. It's just like, you guys having fun? Great.
Oh, I do love that image.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a great time to sort of segue into the sort of last part of the podcast where we, talk about the moment, in gaming that you can always pull on and go, yeah, that's, if I talk about gaming, I'm always going to end up talking about this thing.
Yeah.
What's that for you?
Okay, so this is again, this is again an Overwatch moment, and again with a lot of the healers, something that I like is with Mercy specifically. I love that, again, you can just latch on and then you're good to go. You can fly around. But I was playing one game, and we decided this was back in 2017, and I was having a good time with my friends, and we decided to go for a joke run. It was an unranked match. It was a normal match, and they went as it was 4 DPS positions, and then me as Mercy. So we were on, gosh, which map is it? I think it was Anubis. But we were on the map, and it was right before the point was gonna get lost, and it was the final round. And my team is all standing there, and then a Junkrat tire comes in and annihilates every single one of them. Not me, though. So I get blown up onto the roof, and I see I have exactly 1 hit point left. And then at that moment, my ultimate fully charges. And so I drop down, and I resurrect the entire team. The entire team gets resurrected, and then we win the point.
There you go. I totally planned that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. And like I will never forget the Discord call when that happened, because I just didn't know what happened, and then I just heard like an eruption of cheers.
I truly am the hero of the match.
Yeah. No, I still have that screenshot. I think I posted about it a while ago, but I have that screenshot of just so my battle tag at the time was run some errands. And so it's just run some errands, resurrected, run some errands, resurrected.
I mean, it's like a perfect summary of like, sort of why you like being the healer character and how the healer character can boss it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Is there anything else that you kind of like pull on with gaming as well? Like, any other games that you like always talk about?
So I always constantly refer to multiple Zelda titles. Again, I am a huge Zelda person as a whole. It was, again, the first time I really considered myself a gamer was because of Zelda titles.
Yeah.
I've played almost all of the 3D games at this point. I still need to work on the 2D ones, but I think one of my I will never forget the first time that I played Majora's Mask because I just came off of Ocarina of Time and I went in completely blind because I was 15 and did not want to Google things. And I was playing it on an emulator and I was shocked, amazed, and bewildered. Yeah, well, yeah, bewildered by just how dark the game was and how much of a tonal shift it took from Ocarina of Time, which I still concede it's not my favorite game, but I do think it's the greatest game ever made. But so being able to go from one game to the other one and seeing how different just slight changes were was really inspirational for me as a designer and as a creator.
Yeah.
Just seeing and later on learning about the story of how the tight deadlines with it and how creative they had to be to make Majora's Mask was super instrumental in my processes and how I think about getting a job done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting to have such a game that you know, when you sort of research it more and look more into behind the scenes, that is, you know, kind of inspired you more than just playing the game.
Yeah, no, it was so, yeah, I do that all the time too, even with not just gaming, but I also do it with movies. I'll watch a movie and then specifically like old Hollywood films, I will go and I'll do that and I'll be like, oh boy, what's the drama? What actually happened here? What is this? So I'm just nosy. And then I make it work for me.
Playing a game or watching a film, you're just like, what's the story behind this? they give me a, you know, I've been entertained, but there's something behind this that I need to find out.
Pretty much, yeah.
The actress was saying something with her eyes that she needs me to find out.
Yeah.
I do like that. Like, you know, it's been amazing to sort of hear, like, you know, the kind of the things that have inspired you, and, you know, it's nice that it clearly is going to shape your future abilities as well, in terms of like what you're going to do, and, you know, how you're essentially going to be helping more people, like, you know, to get into their dream careers, and, you know, to see, you know, the industry, you know, their potential, like, go to. so
yeah, no. Yeah.
As Jim was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm gonna do.
I'm just so excited. Really, is the best. That's all I really have to say. It's just so exciting, and I'm just so thankful for all the opportunities that I've gotten with it.
No, and again, you know, sort of, I appreciate you sort of coming to the episode today and sort of sharing that story. You know, unfortunately, we've basically come to the end of the podcast, but if people want to sort of follow your work, you know, or sort of see sort of the things that you do, you know, where's best to look? You know, there's the social media that they should put their attention to.
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can just search my name, Arin Goldsmith. And if you want to see my fun pictures that I take that have no actual meaningful content, you can follow me on Instagram at Arin.Sinclair.
That's great. We'll provide those links as well in the episode description, nice and easy for people to find. But again, you know, I'm so happy that you've come to the episode and chatted to me. You know, I'm so appreciative of it. So, once again, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
And that is basically all we have time for this week, you know. So once again, this is DNA of Games. We'll be publishing more and more stories from developers, content creators, anyone who's basically involved in games. So make sure you follow us on whatever podcasting platform that you love. And I'll see you again next time. So goodbye.
Thanks again, Arin, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, as it really helps us grow. Hope to see you again next time. Goodbye.